Hey, Coach Candace here, and with a topic for you today about stress and emotional eating. Of course, just what I'll talk about today is kind of like the tip of the iceberg about this topic, because we could honestly probably spend over an hour or so, or maybe even days, discussing this. But hopefully, that you walk away with some tips of how to approach this for yourself. Something many of my clients are challenged with. I have to manage through from time to time as well. But just the heart of it, though, many people feel like when they decide to stress or, let's say, eat according to their emotions, many people feel like it's something that suddenly came on. However, it's rarely often spur of the moment, and it's been something that's been building up throughout the day. Um, so, but let's talk about it here. Now, of course, like there's many stressors, like there's mental, physical, relational, emotional, existential stressors, just to name a few. But I'm going to kind of touch upon some of the mental stressors here today. So some like key mental stressors might be anxiety and rumination, like you're dwelling on certain things. Sometimes it could be related to decision fatigue, and now like just decision after decision, just something that you just have to make over and over again, and it can be taxing over time. And also perfectionism, just being so overwhelmed, just feeling that everything has to be done perfectly, and now you're not being able to live up to that. All mental stressors that everybody goes through to some degree, or I shouldn't say everybody, many people. But ultimately, sometimes people decide to manage through that through consumption of food. And however, and again, many people feel it's spur of the moment. However, that habit, for better or for worse, is not random, and it's kind of something that we've relied on for a period of time in our attempts to cope. And in the moment, we feel as though it worked for us. So if it's going to work for us, we keep on doing it. But when we do some careful self-reflection, we know that it's not helping us. So just as though, like, just with any habit, whether it be this or something else, like habits take time to be able to work through and change. And this is no different. Like, it's going to take time and practice. Like the next time, we can't promise, hey, you do this magic trick and you're going to resolve your stressful eating the next time you feel prompted to. But perhaps if you practice it enough time, it'll become easier and easier. Because at the end of the day, all behaviors are an attempt to solve a problem. So again, whether we've relied on that choice for better or for worse, has just been our attempt to solve a problem. In this case, a stressful emotional situation. However, my encouragement for you is to respond to yourself with compassion and a growth mindset, and not with one of guilt or shame. So let's say, for example, let's say you have an episode of where you feel as though you ate according to your stress or your emotions. Think to yourself lovingly about yourself, and as far as like a growth mindset, like how can I respond differently next time? And it might involve trying something new or different. Like when you're feeling that urge to want to stress eat, perhaps it means going for a walk. And perhaps like, hey, and I want to say this is something that I have done in the past, like feeling that urge to eat, but also self-reflecting in the moment, be like, Candace, like, you're not hungry, but you're wanting to eat. Like, what is the reason for it here? And to take a back step, like another good way to preface it too is thinking of the acronym HALT. Like, am I hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? Like, sometimes you might legitimately be hungry, but if it's one of those other three reasons, like, then that's not necessarily a reason to eat, but we might use it as a reason to eat. But anyways, like, so in the past, like, I have felt that urge to eat something, but like carefully considering, like, am I really hungry? And knowing that deep down the answer was no, but I was going to eat out of it, and maybe it was like anxiousness or whatever. But going for a walk and just telling myself, okay, if I'm going to go for a walk for 15 or 20 minutes and I come back and I still want to eat something, then I will eat, because at least I have tried a different way to cope instead. And I want to say 9 times out of 10 that has worked. I've come back and not felt the same urge to eat. So just as anybody who knows me know, I preach walking as like the best. Again, just another example of why walking is so good for you. But also too, like, and this is probably the most challenging part of also managing through this, but like, if you don't address the stressor, it's going to be challenging to work through your stress eating. So like ultimately, like whatever it is that, so for example, whatever it is that you're anxious about, like you do kind of got to get to the core of that issue, whatever it might be. Now sometimes that might be something you work through on your own, or perhaps you might need to work with a therapist to help with do that, and that's okay. Because ultimately you're doing this from a growth mindset, you're showing compassion for yourself, and you're looking to effectively work through the problem to address your bad habit and improve your coping. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with any of that. Something else that has been super helpful, which I've always seen as a recommendation but never fully implemented myself, and again I've kind of like suggest like, hey, go ahead and give that a try, but has been journaling. And I want to say this is the longest period that I've gone with journaling, and I personally feel the difference in my mental state and my physical health since I have done so. So I will go ahead and 10 out of 10 recommend that folks do that. Like just kind of like just writing down your thoughts early in the morning, thinking about things that you're grateful for, what you're excited about, and just kind of just whatever's on your mind, just pouring it onto the piece of paper and putting it there. And I feel like you walk lighter mentally the rest of the day. And I want to say, and also too, going back, like, again, people hear me preach like planning and preparation. Like if your challenge is just always like having to decide what to eat, like sometimes it comes down to, again, whether it be meal prepping or prioritizing your workout time, like whatever it is has become your stressor. Like, am I going to get my workout in today? Well, how can I like prioritize and plan differently so I can do that? So just going back to those, like whatever your particular stressor might be, and kind of working backwards from that, how can you make it not be a stressor? So again, I don't want to say I'm boiling this down as far as easy solutions, and I want to say it's again another example of how the solutions may be simple, but they are not easy. And again, you got to give yourself compassion and grace, and that it takes time to build a new habit, but it can be done. Like you've built one habit, for better for worse, so you do have the ability to develop another one, but it is something that is going to take work and action on your part, and I'm not going to be able to offer you some magic trick that's going to resolve that here today, but it's just some things that you can try and do. And one last one I will add, like if you feel as though like you have like a trigger or go-to food that you happen to choose when you're having those, when you're going through those moments, then it might be a good idea to not have that in the house or make it harder to go out and do. So just just some thoughts there until you feel as though you can effectively manage your stress and have that food around. So I hope you found that helpful. I do have an additional presentation as part of like our Healthy Habits program that I share with my clients. And if you're interested in receiving that, please don't hesitate to reach out and I'd be happy to share that with you. So thank you again for listening today, and I hope you have a wonderful day.